friend of hers says, hey, I have to go to Las Vegas to play the Fiddler on the Roof show. I'm going to be playing the violin for it. Do you want to come for a week and stay there and just hang out in Las Vegas? Sure. So she saw the show, 3 or 4 times, but again, we never met. I saw her on Broadway in 9 and went backstage because I knew people in the show, and we never met. So that's interesting too, isn't it?
Yeah. It's almost like serendipity. It took a while.
Yes, it did.
Well, since we're talking about your wife, so when did the ships finally meet?
Okay, it was 1986, and I had come back to Florida. My mother passed away, and my father had a double hip replacement, and he needed help. So I came back to Florida, and, I was so fortunate to be welcomed back to the theatrical community as well. So I was doing shows constantly in the area. At that time, dinner theater was really still big. I was at the Showboat, which was like a huge, wonderful place to work. The Country Dinner Playhouse. A new dinner theater had opened up in St. Petersburg on Central Avenue called the Encore, and they put me in their first opening show of Annie, and I played Bert Healy. You never fully dressed without a smile? Okay, so I opened the theater with that show, and Dee Etta, my wife, who I didn't know at the time, had just finished the national tour of The Sound of Music in New York. And she was visiting her parents who wintered in St. Petersburg. So while she was there, her mother said, why don't you audition for the new theater that opened downtown? And she said, I'm not really interested because I just want to relax. I just got off the tour. And her mother kind of insisted, that it would be really nice if you spent more time with your mom and dad while you were here. And she said, well, I don't know, what show are they going to be doing? And her mom said, well, I saw in the newspaper they're doing the musical Barnum. And Dee Etta had said, well, there's really nothing in that show for me. And her mother pursued it, and Dee Etta finally gave in and went to the audition. Well, when she opened her mouth, they hired her right on the spot as Jenny Lind, the Swedish opera singer. Dee Etta has her degree in opera from the University of Hartford, the Hart School of Music. She did opera in New York for 5 years before she transitioned into musical theater on Broadway. In fact, her first Broadway show was The Most Happy Fella with Giorgio Tozzi in 1979. It was also televised for PBS, so you can see it, Alex, sometime if you want to pick it up. The Most Happy Fella. So she auditioned for the show. She got in the first day of rehearsal because they had asked me to be in the show also, but I refused them, and I told them that there's nothing for me in the show. We'll give you extra money if you do a whole bunch of character roles. That's it. I'll do it. And the first day of rehearsal, when I met Dee Etta, we thought that we knew each other. We just thought that we knew each other. And it was kind of, that like a kindred spirit almost. Well, I'm going to fast forward, not too fast, to let you know that 3 weeks later we were engaged.
Wow.
9 months later we were married. And it's going to be 33 years in September.
Congrats. Wow.
How do you like that for a whirlwind romance?
Really? That one's great. Awesome.
Yeah.
The love of the theater.
What's really neat, Alex, too, is that we have a very similar career, too. Like, we know a lot of the same people. In fact, when we had 2 engagement parties, one was in Florida and one was in New York, and the people that I invited, my friends, and with the people that she invited, her friends, everybody knew each other. I always say there's only 13 people in show business. The rest is smoke and mirrors. The people that work a lot know each other. So it was really fantastic, and we've had that happen, throughout our whole married life, with meeting people that either she worked with or I worked with, and very fortunate. In fact, the first time that we've worked together before in shows, but the first time we've ever played opposite each other was in the last national tour of Fiddler on the Roof, the 2012 tour. I starred in it as Teyve, and my wife, Dee Etta, played Golda. The first time that we played opposite each other that way.
And what was that like?
It was fantastic. Are you kidding me? Because our chemistry was for real. In fact, we celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary on stage. We had 2 shows that day. And when we sang "Do You Love Me" to each other, it was epic. I mean, the actors were in the wings. People were crying. I could barely get through it because in the lyrics of the song, it says, "After 25 years, it's nice to know that you love each other." So that was pretty cool. So after the first performance on that day, the curtain come down and it went up again, and they brought out 24 red roses to my wife on stage in celebration of our 25th wedding anniversary. And the funniest thing is that when the curtain came down again, they ran on and said, "Give me those flowers. We've got to put them in the refrigerator. We're giving them to you again tonight after the show."
That's great.
Yeah, so actually we were the last actors to perform in the last national tour of Fiddler on the Roof. Yeah, I've done over 3,000 performances now.
What is it about that show?
Well, it's in my blood. Of course, I've been doing it since I was 20 years old. But that show has just such a universal appeal. It's about family. It's about traditions. It's about the breaking down of traditions. There's just an earthiness about it that I believe withstands the test of time. And for me, I have to say that it's my very, very favorite role of all time.
Because?
Because it's in my blood. It's in my blood. There's earthiness, there's realness, there's comedy, there's drama, there's singing, there's dancing. And I just embody that role. And also the culture, the Jewish culture. I'm an honorary Jew.
I would think so. After that many performances, I think you should be, right?
After all these years. The only other role that I really would say another favorite role of mine, I have a couple. That's on top of the list is Teyve and Fiddler on the Roof. I played Edna in Hairspray in California.
Wow.
And that was very, very fun. I had a good time with that. The other roles that I've done so much, I've done over 1,000 performances of Sancho in Man of La Mancha. Love that. And I've done over 1,000 performances as Nicely in Guys and Dolls as well. So there you are. And it's interesting because Nicely, Sancho, and Teyve, I could go into those roles if someone said, "Look, we've got someone's out with sickness. Can you come in?" And I could get through it.
Really?
Without a rehearsal. Because it's kind of like, the opera singers. They learn a couple of roles and they do them for the rest of their career.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I've been in operas as well. In fact, at Ruth Eckerd Hall, I was in, and also at Tampa Bay Performing Arts Center, the Straz, I was in Aida. I played the Messengere with the Tampa Bay Opera Company. Yeah. It's been been a whirlwind career, and it's not over yet. I'm still doing stuff. I direct a lot too. I own three theaters. The last one being just 4 years ago, Jimmy Ferraro Studio Theater in Newport Richey, and it's been wonderful. I've directed around the country. I've been directing. I directed 3 shows in Phoenix at the Arizona Broadway Theater. I've directed at the Boss Blue in Denver, Colorado. It's been wonderful.
What's the first thing you ever did direct?
the first thing I ever directed, well, I guess it would be those musical reviews that I did at the Hacienda Hotel, but the first book musical that I ever directed was Chicago.
Oh, why Chicago?
Pardon me?
Was that by choice?
No, I fell into it. I did a lot of productions of Chicago as Mary Sunshine. You know, there are not many people that can sing that coloratura soprano song that's in there. But I did many productions of it. Anyway, I got hired to do a production in upstate New York at the Cecil Wood Playhouse. In fact, my audition was over the phone. They just wanted to know if I could sing that song. Excuse me. And of course, I did it, and I got the job. So while we're up there, they fired the director of the show and said, "Jimmy, you've done the show before. You're the only one that has done the show before. Can you direct it for us?" Like, sure, why not? And the choreographer had left too. So in the production was a friend of mine from the national tour of Fiddler on a Roof, Teyve Torchio, and he was going to choreograph. He said, "Sure, we can do this," and that's how that happened to me.
So, being an actor, how do you approach directing from that point of view? I know I've heard sometimes some of the best directors are actors.
Well, I like to think that because I know what it's like to be up there as an actor. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think that as a director that I have more compassion for the challenges that actors have. And with that, I also have I feel like a chemistry just because of being an actor with the actors that I could be able to easily translate my visions to them in the blocking, in the character analysis to make it come alive.
Mm-hmm. And has your directing style changed throughout the years?
Yes, it has. Yes, I believe it has. Because at one point I was directing a show a month.
Wow.
You know, one show every month. And I had to work fast because I would only have 10 days to 2 weeks to direct it. So I had to really kind of knock them out.
Really? Yeah.
And I did that for several years. I guess what I did is that I kind of learned on my feet, mm-hmm. And especially how to get them out. And then, I was directing musicals with 50 people in them in 10 days.
Wow.
So has my directing changed over the years? Yes, it has. And I think that now that there's more experience means so much. And with that, what I'm saying is that you know not to sweat the small stuff. Mm. And I think that makes it pleasurable for everyone involved. And I never forget to thank and appreciate the behind-the-scenes people. And let me tell you, you get so much more from everyone with that bit of kindness. I always thank the lighting people. I say, well, nobody would be able to see us on stage if it wasn't for them, and applaud them. And I thank the sound people that you wouldn't have heard us tonight if it wasn't for them. Let's give them a round of applause. And of course, our backstage people, our dressers, we wouldn't be able to be in our costumes soon enough if it wasn't for them helping us, and everyone involved. And I think that's really important, because you can't have a good production without everyone involved. It's not about the director, and it's not about just the actors. It's about everyone making that production as beautiful as they can.
Absolutely. Got to do that. I'm curious now, you're in Actors Equity. Does that mean you have to put on equity shows, or can you be in shows that are non-equity as an actor?
That's interesting. As a member of Actors Equity, if you are a full active member of Actors Equity Association, you cannot be in shows that are not union. Okay? Mm-hmm. But I have applied for what's called FICOR, financial core. And financial core allows a union member to work in the union and